Hello, and welcome back to Your Story is Your Portal. And today in this solo episode, we're going to be talking about the concept of multiple people working on one book together. This can be known as an anthology. Some people might remember the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And it's an opportunity for multiple people to work on one book together. In the last 10 years, I've probably worked on about 15 book projects like this. And the idea is that we have a common theme for the book, and we have multiple authors, and each author brings their own unique story to that topic. And the beautiful thing about that concept of having 10 or 15 authors in one book is that you've now got 10 or 15 different voices. And when you think about stories are all about helping other people to understand this bizarre thing we call life. And stories are an opportunity to share our wisdom, to share our experiences, and to help other people that are maybe going through a similar situation. But we can only relate to stories if we can relate to what that person is talking about. So sometimes when we're looking at a particular book and we think, oh, this is going to be a great book to read, and then we buy the book, and then we start to read the book, and we're like, I can't relate to this. I can't relate to these characters. I can't relate to this story. And it's a disappointment, because if you can't relate to the story in any way, then you're probably not going to enjoy the story. Even though we learn so many things by reading books, unless we can relate on some level, then it's difficult for us to enjoy the story that we are reading. So this is why the whole idea of having multiple people in one book really excites me, because it means that when I'm working with, let's say, 10 people, and they're all telling their experience. So to give you an example, I'm here in Sayulita, Mexico, and my idea right now is to be working on a series of books that feature people who live and work and have even been born here in Sayulita, Mexico. What makes up this community? Who are the people that make up this community? How did they come here from literally all over the world? How did they get to decide that Sayulita was going to be their home? Or maybe it's not their full-time home. Maybe it's only their part-time home. What do they do when they are here? Are they working? Are they working remotely? Are they here just on vacation? What is the reason why they are particularly living in Sayulita, Mexico? And even though I have only been in this town for, I think, about 5 months, I've already met such an amazing array of people. Some people that were born here. Sayulita was born in Sayulita, and the first time that I met Sayulita, and she's around 45 years old, I was like, wow, you're called Sayulita. And she said, yes, because I was born here. And it was really interesting to see a sort of seaside town that has grown into a very artsy and vibrant little town. It still remained small, but at the same time, it's got this eclectic collection of people. And so I love the idea of creating a series of books where we can feature those people, feature the people that were born here, feature the people that have moved here, feature the Mexicans that have chosen to live in Sayulita. They've moved from a different part of Mexico, and share all of those stories so that people really get to understand what makes the very special nature of a place. So some of the other books that I've worked on where we've had a collection of authors, when I was in Vancouver, I had the real pleasure of working with Rebecca on two books actually called Family Tree. And she had this lovely idea that we would feature the relationships between mother and daughter and father, and that very sort of unique story that we all carry those stories from our parents. So our parents really shape who we are. And so this first book was called The Mother-Daughter Roots, and it featured a group of authors that were all talking about the relationship with their mother and or with their daughter, and the generations also of mothers and daughters. And it was really quite beautiful to see authors from all over the world talking about those different relationships with their mother or with their daughter. And it was a very heartwarming book to see the way that the mothers had then looked at their daughters and looked at their own relationship with their mother in a different way, once they were reflecting themselves as a mother. And so Rebecca loved doing this book so much, the Family Tree mother-daughter book, that we then went on to do the next book in the series, which was the father-daughter book in the series. And in fact, I contributed to that book myself as well, telling my father's story. We did a series of books, in fact, 9 books with an organization called The Woman of Worth. And these 9 books, what was really special about these books in Vancouver was that the proceeds from the book went to the Woman of Worth Foundation. And so it was really beautiful to see that a book was being used as an opportunity to raise money. And the way that was done was that each author that contributed in the book, so each author sort of had their own, if you like, little mini book in a book, their own chapter in a book. And in this case, with the Woman of Worth series, it was mostly women entrepreneurs that were, really promoting what they did and who they are in the community. And so at the end of each book, there was a 4-page bio about that person and what they do in that community. And so in this instance, where there was 15 authors talking about being empowered entrepreneurs, it was an opportunity for them to showcase what they do. So to tell their story and to say why they do what they do and how they help other people as an entrepreneur. They paid a fee to be in the book. So I think in this particular book, I think that each author paid, I think, $2,000 to be included in the book. And so, of course, there are 15 authors in this book. And so Christine raised $30,000 for the Women's Foundation just by asking each author to contribute towards the book and donate their proceeds to a foundation. So $2,000 per chapter, 15 authors, each one donating $2,000 towards the book. And that meant $30,000 immediately went to the nonprofit. And then when the book was sold, all of the proceeds for the book sales also went to the Women's Foundation. And then each women also purchased copies of the books themselves. So each of the women that were in this book all purchased, like 100 copies of the book. And then when they sold copies of the book, they kept some money for themselves because they were using the book to promote their business. But all of the retail sales for the book, so every time the book was sold on Amazon or in a bookstore, all of those profits went to the foundation. So over a period of, I think it was about, almost 10 years that I was working with Christine on the Woman of Worth book series. I think over a period of 9 books, she raised somewhere in the region of $300,000 for the Woman of Worth Foundation. So a book like this, we named this a collaborative book. So we said this was a way that multiple authors could come together, be featured in a book together. They would be raising money for a charity or a foundation. And then the series became very, very popular, and each book raised more money for a foundation. So these are all the different ways that you can look at writing a book. I mean, sharing your story and writing a book does not have to be an endeavor just for one person. It can be 15 people all sharing their stories together in one book. And these are the kind of projects which I really, really love to do, and I really enjoy working on them. A series of books that I worked on with Jennifer Nagel was Therapists Are Human Too. And for Jennifer, she was really passionate about the training organization that she works for, which is called the Satir Institute. And the Satir Institute was, and still is, has a different way of looking at therapists and therapy, in that it's a reciprocal journey, the therapist and the patient. The patient is also giving back to the therapist. So it's a two-way street. And so it really takes out the stigma from therapy. And so this book that we actually did in Mexico is called Therapists Are Human Too. And for Jennifer, it was an opportunity for her to ask her colleagues who were fellow therapists to talk about their experience of being a therapist. How did they come to be a therapist? What are the benefits that they have observed from their patients and the people that they have helped? And how has the whole journey of being a therapist become a reciprocal journey? So Therapists Are Human Too is a beautiful collection of stories from 10 therapists talking about therapy and talking about how important it is to understand that therapists are human too. Take away the stigma of therapist and therapy, because this is a very, very important topic. So this one was a beautiful book, Therapists Are Human Too, and everybody enjoyed the journey so much that they came back for the next book in the collection, which is The Healing Journey to Authenticity. So with this book, we widened the selection of authors to healers. So not just therapists, but anybody that was in the healing field, including, coaches and people that are in the health industry, for example. And this beautiful book was all about people sharing their own stories of healing, so their own journey to becoming authentic. So everybody has one theme, everybody is working to one theme, and each person's story is presented in the book as a kind of little mini chapter, a mini story. And the reason why I really, really enjoy and love this process of working with people on collaborative books is that we do it together. We write the book together. We go through the whole processing of creating the book together. And for me, this is a very personal experience. This is not something that, in the past I have done it on Zoom when it was necessary. But most of the books that I have worked on, I've actually worked in person. So we have met in person as a group of people. And every week we work on each person's chapter. So as a book, we come together to work on the book together. Each person is working on their individual chapter. But as a collaborative, we are coordinating the content of the book and the theme of the book. And then as we go through to distribution and launch and promotion, together we collaborate on the marketing and promotion of the book as well. So it is a beautiful bonding opportunity where people come together to produce a book together. And in Sayulita, I am going to be putting out the word for applications for a series of books about the people of Sayulita. Sayulita Soul Writers is a group of writers that get together every Tuesday. But we'll actually be doing this as a separate book masterclass, so that it will be between 6 and 12 weeks, and the group will come together as a book masterclass. We meet on a weekly basis, and we will be working on the chapter, each person's chapter. So we'll actually be physically writing together, physically writing the book together, and I will be guiding people through the process of writing their chapter, picking a theme that is for a common theme that everybody agrees on, and then going through the process of physically writing the chapter for the book, and then go through the editing process and the design process. And you get to learn a lot about publishing. And in fact, so many people that get involved in a collaborative book, a group book, then go on to be inspired to work on their own book. Once they had seen how enjoyable the process is, there are so many people that then say, wow, I really enjoyed working on the chapter of a book. Now I'm ready to write my own book. Thank you for walking through today's portal. I invite you to subscribe, share, and join me inside the House of Story Medicine for deeper journeys, book mentorship, and soul story retreats in Mexico. Because your voice matters.
I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we're honored to have Julianne's show, Your Story is Your Portal, as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com. And don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift vault. Stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.